This is Second Ezra's 14 and 16. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. I like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do well, and the like-minded brothers. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad, the Akim and the Akwath that's listening. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shuwab Amwan back at you with another lesson. And going into the title, all right, blackouts, all right, everywhere, all right. And we all have heard about the blackout that's going down in San Francisco, all right, because pretty sure brothers have been going into it, all right. But I'm from Jersey, and I came across this today, all right, and it says, Shalom Malak Yahweh Shem Shabbat. It says thousands without power in New Jersey. All right, so now we have a bunch of power outages out here in New Jersey also, which I'm in Freehold, New Jersey, but my main town that I grew up in is in Little Hatfield over here, which is a place you call Lakewood, New Jersey. All right, and in Lakewood, there's been a lot of blackouts in the past month. There's been a lot of reports over and over of blackouts continually happening out here. And it's funny because this used to be a place where you saw a lot of Jakes out here. All right, you had a lot of Judah out here. Right now the only thing that's left in here is just Issachar, and 90% of them is straight Little Hatters. All right, but you used to have a lot of Benjamin here. You used to have a lot of Judah, a lot of Ephraim, a lot of Simeon. All right, we have a mixture of everything in here. But because these Little Hatters are building and just kicking everybody the fuck out, they're pretty much the ones that have taken over. It's about 85% of this place is all Little Hatters, and then 15% is all Issachar. All right, but it's crazy because the Lord been judging these damn devils over here with no power. And remember, Amalek is they the basis of men. They children of fools, so they don't even know how to survive. They don't know what to do when them lights cut off. They ain't got no knowledge. They do have money, all right, but even with their money, they stupid as hell. But they've been getting smacked left to right. All right, right now as I'm passing by in Lakewood, there is there is power here. All right, but this article was talking about how thousands in New Jersey don't have power. All right, so let me see if I can just go into it real quick. And Salaki with all the noise, because fucking Lakewood is horrible to drive in. Nothing but redone roads. All right, and my car ain't the best. My car is like a fucking horse. You can hear it galloping out here. All right, but it says thousands without power in New Jersey. All right, hold on, let me open it up. I'm gonna grab that, and then there's this other article where I found it was called live updates of power outages throughout the United States. And honestly, there are so many power outages going out at once right now in America. It's just not being reported. All right, and this is how we know that we're gonna end up being cyber attacked. The lights are gonna completely get cut off in America, man. All right, and all hell gonna break loose through that. All lawlessness is gonna happen out here. All right, so real quick, this is 7 hours ago. Thousands without power in New Jersey. All right, it says thousands of New Jersey residents are without electricity Sunday morning as power companies continue to respond to outages across the state, according to the data from PowerOutage.com. It says as of early Sunday, approximately 7,802 customers were reported without power statewide out of more than 4.18 million customers tracked. The outages were scattered across several counties, with northern and western parts of the state seeing the highest numbers. Okay, Sussex County. All right, you got Hunterdon County, Warren County, Morris County. All right, so you got in Sussex County, you had 3,000 customers. Warren County, you had 1,500. Hunterdon County, 1,300 basically. Morris County had about 1,200. All right, and the list just goes on and on, man. Monmouth County, that's actually where I live in Monmouth County. They had 152 people. All right, but my house, you know, the water out by Shimmy House Shop, we got power in our house. You know, Burlington County, you got 71. All right, but see, this is what's going on, man. And a lot of these things, you know, ain't no winter, ain't no storm out here right now. So why is all these different types of you know, outages happening? Because Esau using he doing test grids right now. He testing grids, man, to see what's gonna happen. You know, how people react. All right, they have what you call I believe it's called instead of blackouts, it's called brownouts. All right, where they're able to cut off the switch in particular areas whenever they feel like it. You know, showing you that they have the power to just cut they have the power to cut your lights off whenever they feel like it. Go look it up. Brownouts, you know, is basically where they'll try to tell you that they're trying to conserve on power, you know, for a safety measure, you know, from being, you know, cyber attacked or something like that. And what they do is they just cut off the power in particular areas. So you'll be in one county, that shit has complete power, but the next county over ain't got it because they're trying to save on energy, you know. But again, it's to show you that they have power to press a button and do that. And best believe in these last days, all right, on top of cyber attacks or even before cyber attacks, these devils gonna find ways to cut people's powers out for the hell of it, you know. When a storm is coming, they can just cut off the power and make it seem like the storm did it, you know, have people suffering in a particular area. Mostly it's going to be a lot of the ghettos areas, you know what I'm saying, to make our people go into frenzy, you know, because our people go crazy when the lights get cut off. They get desperate, okay? See, it's harder to cut off the power in these rich neighborhoods and places like that because these rich neighborhoods, they got generators, you know, they got backup plans, backup generators in their houses. So if it goes out, you know, they're able to cut them back on, but they're able to, you know, attack the ghettos knowing that we ain't got none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Which this is why you got to be prepared. You know, I got my own damn generator, you know, for shit like that. You know, I got my own little fire grill, all right, to make food. You know, these are things you got to invest in for these last days. All right, mine's an actual propane one, but you know, which is not the best because you don't really want to eat food that's, you know, being cooked with the propane. But if you cook it on low, you won't get you won't mess your food won't come out tasting like propane. You just got to know how to cook on them things, you know. So I got an actual it's probably about, I want to say about 2 feet high, you know, I mean 2 feet wide, and it goes about like a foot and almost 2 feet up high also. And it's basically got a little grill on it. It's got a little spot to make you know, put a pot, and it also got an oven, you know, and it's all you need is a little ass, literally one of them little Walmart $5 tanks of propane, all right, to get it started. All right, and you cook everything on low, man, and everything will work out. You know, I've cooked on it plenty of times. You use them for camping trips, really, you know, but that shit is crucial to have in these last days. All right, and you definitely want to have bags of, you know, charcoal, because that's the best way to go. You know, charcoal chips, you know, wood chips. You know, that's what you really want to cook with, because that's the cleanest way for you to cook a meal. All right, so these are things that we have to invest in at the end of the day. All right, so with that being said, I ain't even gonna read the rest of this thing, right? But let me grab this. All right, I screenshotted it. It says United States power outage map. All right. Actually, I didn't even screenshot it. I just got it saved right here. And it tells you right here, since I'm at a red light, it tells you all the power outages that's around the world right now in the United States. All right. So it says live U.S. power outages. Total U.S. customers out 73,000. All right, let's round it up to 74,000. And then it shows you outages by state. All right, and right now we know that San Francisco, California is one of the main ones that got smacked, which they are right now at 2,300 people. I mean, 23,000 people, all right, without power. Then it says Colorado, 13,000. Pennsylvania, 6,000. West Virginia, 4,000. Idaho, 4,000. I'm just rounding up numbers. New Jersey, 4,000. Right? South Dakota, it says 2,800. Texas, 2,300. All right, and then I can't go into the rest because I will have to sign up to their website and all that shit. And I ain't got no time to do that while I'm driving. All right, but it's showing you that total across, and this was updated 5 minutes ago, literally 5 minutes ago. All right, so there's 74,000 people across America right now. All right, in between different states that have no power. All right, and this ain't nothing but signs of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, letting you know that, hey, pretty soon the lights are going to be cut off out here, man. And people tend to go crazy when the lights get cut off. You see, people don't know how to, react to these things. They just get put in a panic attack. All right, a lot of women go into panic attack. All right, niggas go into crime rate. Once the lights go off, that's when you get the thieves coming out, the thieves and the robbers. Now they see their advantage to go out there and be able to, start robbing shit. They start plotting on those that they know that got hella, shit in their house. This is why you never let people into your house. This is why you never let people know what the hell you got. All right. Because in times like this, people going to get desperate. All right. And who knows how long you'll be able to have, power. I've been in a situation where I don't have power for three weeks out in my household. All right. And this was back in the time when Hurricane Sandy had hit. All right. We literally had no power for like 3 weeks. That shit was crazy as hell, but we were able to still manage to eat. We were managed to cook shit out in the backyard, and you have to be, and at that time I wasn't even part of the truth, but through the spirit, hey, the Lord had us, be able to, get by. How much more now that I do know the truth, and I can always put we always put our full trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. See, in times like that, we don't have to worry about us, starving, because the Lord gonna let His servants eat. He gonna find a way for us to make it happen. All right, but at the same time, we're not gonna be no doomsday preppers or anything like that. But we're gonna be ones that prepare ourselves. This is why you go to the the store, while you got a little bit of money and shit ain't breaking out and all hell right now. You go to these stores and you go stack up on water. Right now you go into my house, I got about 12 36 packs of water. Nothing crazy, but it's something to have just in case a situation happens. You want to be smart. You want to be able to have, buy yourself a lot of 20-pound rice bags, and break them down and put them in Marlar bags. All right. And then you could put them in 5-gallon buckets. All right. And then seal them shut. All right. And have those type of foods ready for when, there is no food in these stores. All right. And you'll be able to have your own little stash, and most of all, in these times, it's best to have yourself gold and silver. All right. Because when the money all fails, all right, precious metals is what's going to go up. So it's good to have, something to barter with, something that's going, right now, gold is like 4,045, like 4,400 per ounce. Silver is like 80 per ounce right now, you see, and they're going to go up more and more. All right. Especially as we, these wars continue. All right. And so basically, this whole economy collapses. Once it collapses, all right, you're able to triple up on that money, and it's good to have that. Okay. But let me grab this real quick. I'm gonna play a little bit of the video. All right. It says I ain't gonna show it because I'm driving, but it says blackouts are coming. 10 states at risk. All right, and this was, I believe, it was dropped a couple of days ago. All right, but just listen. Let me see if I could put it on the Bluetooth so everybody can hear it. Hold on, real quick, Salakia. I gotta connect. I should have connected. I thought I had it connected, but I guess it disconnected. Here we go, though. So it says blackouts are coming. 10 states are at risk. Okay, and they're already warning you. See, so Esau has an agenda to
these speeches are built different, literally.
Esau has these agendas to black people's states out, man, because they're already trying to prepare you ahead of time. See, if it was something that just catastrophically happened, they wouldn't be sitting here warning you about it, man. You see, it would just happen. But because they got videos on shit like this ready to, they're telling you that these things are gonna happen, it's because it's gonna be, orchestrated.
Why you didn't prepare? I'm Zach. Been prepping since 2012, and I've spent the last month analyzing grid reliability. Today, I'm going to show you exactly which 11 states are most likely to experience major blackouts in 2025, why it's happening, and most
it actually says 2026 on it.
Do about it before you're sitting in the dark wondering why you didn't prepare. I'm Zach. Been prepping since 2012, and I've spent the last month analyzing grid reliability reports, infrastructure assessments, and talking to utility insiders who paint a pretty alarming picture. The Department of Energy just released a report warning that blackouts could increase by 100 times, not percent, times, by 2030 if we keep shutting down reliable power plants without building adequate replacements. That's not some conspiracy theory. That's our own government telling us the grid is falling apart. But here's what really got my attention. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation, which is basically the referee for our power grid, just issued their assessment showing that most of the United States is at elevated risk for electricity shortfalls. We're not talking about brief flickers. We're talking about extended blackouts during extreme weather when you need power the most. Now, before we dive into which states are in the most trouble,
best believe they're going to shoot for the winter time. See, this is why we speak about that dark winter all the time, man. And that's why the scriptures tell you in Matthew the 24th chapter, right? Pray that your flight be not in the winter, man. You better hope, right, that you have the Lord on your side, and that we ain't got to be escaping in the time of winter, man, because this is going to be hard times to live in. Imagine that power outages in the middle of winter, dead ass winter, when it's cold as hell, 0 degrees, 10 degrees out there, man. That's a horrible living condition to experience. Okay. And that's what's coming. Okay. Literally. So we have to be prepared for these things. We have to stay prayed up. Okay.
Let me give you the 30,000-foot view of what's really happening here. Our power grid was built in the 1960s and 70s for a completely different world. Back then, we had big coal and nuclear plants pumping out steady, predictable power. Today, we're shutting those down and replacing them with solar panels and wind turbines that only work when nature cooperates. Meanwhile, we're plugging in millions of electric vehicles, running massive data centers for artificial intelligence, and everyone's mining cryptocurrency in their garage. The demand for electricity is exploding while the reliable supply is shrinking. It's basic math, and the math doesn't work. Let's start with number 11 on our list, and this one might surprise you. Michigan. Yeah, the Great Lakes state is facing a perfect storm of grid problems that most people don't see coming. Michigan's industrial base is transitioning hard into electric vehicle manufacturing. Ford, GM, Stellantis, they're all retooling factories to build EVs, and those factories are absolute electricity vampires. We're talking about facilities that use as much power as small cities. But here's the kicker. Michigan is simultaneously shutting down coal plants and a nuclear facility while betting everything on natural gas and renewables. The problem is Michigan's natural gas infrastructure is ancient. Many of those pipelines were laid in the 1950s. When we get those polar vortex events, and they're becoming more frequent, Natural gas supplies get constrained because everyone needs it for heating. The gas plants can't get enough fuel to generate electricity right when demand peaks. I remember during the 2014...
And really, you're supposed to actually, every so many years, they're actually supposed to replace these things. But see, Esau, the type that'll build shit, and then he just leave that shit there, man, and let it rot and get old, man. You see? Because that's what this devil's about, man. He know exactly why he do that too. Because for situations like this, remember, these devils are able to manipulate weathers. You know what I'm saying? They're able to, use their harp stations to, do whatever they want with the weather. So they know how to create superstorms and shit like that, man. And they create these things, right? With chemtrails and all that. And then, all these different types of things that are supposed to be replaced every so often, every so many years. All right, and update it, upgrade it. All right, they just leave them like that on purpose, man, because they know that it's gonna cause some catastrophic shit at one point,
Polar vortex, parts of Michigan came within hours of cascading blackouts. The utilities were literally calling industrial customers, begging them to shut down operations. Michigan also has this unique vulnerability because of the Great Lakes. Ice storms coming on.
Salakia, yeah, Esau definitely trying to fuck with my feet because I just looked at my Wi-Fi box. My shit got full 5 bars. So see, he don't like when you bring out information like this because we the ones telling you that it's gonna be orchestrated. They don't like when you bring out that truth like that. All right, but hey, I paused it. Let's continue on.
Prayers. The state has some of the oldest power infrastructure in the nation, much of it dating back to the 1960s. But what really makes Louisiana vulnerable is their dependence on natural gas plants located in flood-prone areas. See, Louisiana produces tons of natural gas, but most of their power plants are built right in Hurricane Alley.
And if they cut me off again, just hold on tight. I'll get right back into the video. It's just that he'll try to kick it off and stop it.
When storms hit, it's not just the wind damage. Storm surge can flood entire generating facilities, and salt water is absolutely devastating to electrical equipment. After Hurricane Ida, some areas were without power for over a month, not because the lines were down, but because the actual power plants were destroyed. The heat and humidity in Louisiana are brutal on equipment year-round. Transformers, substations, all that infrastructure degrades faster in that environment. The utilities know this, but replacing everything would cost billions they don't have. So they're playing this constant game of patching things up and hoping nothing critical fails during peak summer demand when everyone's running their AC 24/7. What really worries me about Louisiana is their industrial load. All those petroleum refineries and chemical plants along the Mississippi, they need massive amounts of reliable power. When the grid becomes unstable, these facilities have to conduct emergency shutdowns, which can take weeks to restart. It creates this cascading effect where power problems.
And that's what them brownouts is for measures like that. You see, when they have to try to basically, save energy and try to make sure that, a certain particular city is safe, that's what they'll do. They'll just do a brownout instead of a blackout, all right? And they'll cut off power intentionally in certain areas. You see? That's what they can't. Man, listen, these people know they got ways of doing shit. All right? Give me 1 second.
From fuel shortages that affect the entire country. Now, by the way, because I know how overwhelming all this can feel when you're trying to figure out how to protect your family, I put together a free resource for you that I personally use. It's a complete guide that shows you exactly how to turn just $50 into a 90-day emergency food supply. I'm talking specific brands, exact quantities, where to buy everything. Plus, I included 37 essential items most people never think to stockpile. Number 23 on that list is something you probably throw away every week, but could be incredibly valuable in a grid down situation. The guide also shows you meals you can make with zero electricity, storage tricks that work even in small apartments, and how to scale up your supplies over time without breaking the bank. It's completely free. Just let me know where to send it. The link is in the description below. All right, number 9. And this is where things get interesting. Illinois. Chicago alone uses more electricity than many entire states.
And Illinois is definitely going to be, see, they're going to definitely hit the major cities. They're going to hit places like Chicago. They're going to hit places like New York. They're going to hit places like Florida. I'm pretty sure on this video, which, you know, this video is 32 minutes long, so I might have to do 2 parts of it. All right, but you know, right now they're talking about Chicago, you know, and you already see that they started off with California. All right, you see that I just brought out a whole article that today they started with New Jersey. All right, so it's going to be major cities that they use. All right, because that's where the most population is. Okay, and this is where, you know, those places that are major populated areas. All right, all they got to do is cut off your resources, man, and pretty much, you know, people going to a panic attack. Okay, so here it is. He's saying that Chicago is one of the most mainly used for power. All right.
All right, number 9. And this is where things get interesting. Illinois. Chicago alone uses more electricity than many entire states. And Illinois has been aggressively shutting down coal plants without adequate replacements. The state is banking on wind power from rural areas, but here's what they don't tell you. The transmission lines needed to move that power to Chicago are completely inadequate. It's like trying to fill a swimming pool through a coffee straw. Illinois also has this nasty problem with polar vortex events. When temperatures drop to -20, electricity demand absolutely explodes as everyone cranks up their heating.
And this is what's happening right now. You see, right now I did a video on that like maybe a week and a half ago. We're going through a crazy polar vortex where they said that they have never seen the temperatures at this degree before. All right, it's gonna be a cold ass winter. We haven't even got to the dead smack of winter yet. Winter just started. I believe, as a matter of fact, what's today? The 21st. Yeah. Today is actually, I think, the beginning of winter, the first day of winter, or tomorrow, something like that. You see? So we haven't even reached, you know, dead smack of the winter. Imagine when we hit January, man. Because dead smack of the winter is like the end of January going into February. You see, this is why 2026 is about to be wild as hell. All right? Because they're already messing with all these, you know, with all our weather, man. And they doing all these, you know, chemtrails, all right? All these HARP stations is manipulating the weather. They're creating super vortex polar express storms and shit, you know? So it's going to get, the temperatures are going to drop. That's why you see, I don't know where Brothers is from, but where I'm at, you'll see that the temperature will be one day. Yesterday was like 51 degrees. Today is like 30 degrees, you know? Then it'll go back up to, you know, 49 degrees, 48 degrees, and then it drops back down to 20. See, that's ESO manipulating the weather, man. All right. And when that happens, that creates, you know, certain type of superstorms, you know, whether it be hurricanes, whether it be, you know, tornadoes, or whether it be, you know, cold fronts and cold drifts. All right. Remember, these devils know how to mess around with every aspect of life. Okay. That's what they have done all their lives, man. Make diligent searches in everything that they do. All right.
But those same conditions often come with calm air, meaning wind turbines aren't generating anything. The natural gas plants try to pick up the slack, but the gas pipelines can't deliver enough fuel during extreme cold. It's a triple failure waiting to happen. I've been tracking Illinois' grid issues since 2018, and what concerns me most is their nuclear fleet. These plants provide about half the state's electricity, but they're old, expensive to maintain, and several are scheduled for retirement. Once those nuclear plants go offline, Illinois loses that steady baseline power that keeps the grid stable. Wind and solar can't replace that reliability, no matter what politicians promise. The cybersecurity threat to Illinois is also massive. Chicago is a major financial hub, making it a prime target for state-sponsored cyber attacks. The grid infrastructure there is increasingly digital and connected to the internet. A coordinated cyber attack during a weather event could create chaos and makes the 2003 Northeast blackout look like a minor inconvenience. Number 8 is Massachusetts. New England in general has serious grid problems, but Massachusetts is particularly vulnerable. The state has shut down nuclear and coal plants.
And Massachusetts gets real cold, yo. I done heard stories from people that, you know, around that area, man. They say that's one of the coldest places to be at. You know what I'm saying? So imagine when these things happen, man. See, they're all telling you all these little major parts that just
Literally can't get enough fuel to keep the lights on. The IS New England grid operator has been warning about this for years. During cold snaps, they're often one pipeline failure or LNG shipment delay away from rolling blackouts. Back in 2022, they came so close to blackouts that they were preparing emergency protocols to cut power to neighborhoods on a rotating basis. Massachusetts also has this unique problem with offshore wind. They're building massive wind farms off Cape Cod, which sounds great until you realize that offshore transmission cables are incredibly vulnerable. One ship anchor dragging across the seafloor.
The winds that they're creating, it comes from all them HARP stations that they got. You know, they got HARP stations set up all around the world. All they got to do is go online and Google where all these different locations of HARP stations are, and you'll see the way that they got this shit set up is wild. That's why storms, they draw in basically storms that come from the middle of the ocean, all right, and they're able to generate these storms and keep them going in the same pattern. Basically, they go in a circle over and over and over again. So every time you get a storm, right? For example, when you get a hurricane, right, you realize that there'll be 3 hurricanes that come back. So let's say this, I'm just gonna throw out names. You have Hurricane Bob comes, right, and it's not so big, but then it dies off, and then next thing you know, you hear about Hurricane John, and then that one's a little bit stronger than Bob, and then that one dies off, and by the third one, it's even stronger than Bob and John, and you know, that's basically the same storm. It's the same storm that just came back through a circle, through a pattern that it made it go through a complete circle of 360, and it turned back around, but came back stronger every time. You see, that's what them HARP stations do, man. And it's crazy the way the HARP stations are all set up. They're set up in triangles, in Illuminati triangles, man. You see, you got to know how these devils, you know, how they move out here, man.
Knock out gigawatts of power instantly. The maintenance on these offshore systems is enormously complex and expensive, especially during winter storms when you need that power most. The demand side in Massachusetts is exploding too. The state is pushing hard for electric vehicle adoption and electric heating systems to replace oil and gas furnaces. But they're adding all this electrical demand without upgrading the distribution infrastructure. It's like putting a Ferrari engine in a golf cart. Something's going to break, and it's going to break catastrophically. Number 7 is New York. And I'm not just talking about New York City, though that's certainly the biggest vulnerability.
So what I'll do is I'll play this last one of New York, and then I end the video because it's going to be long, and then I'll do a part 2 to it, starting from here, from New York. I mean, from the end of New York onto the next one. Because I was only going to bring about 10 minutes worth of the video, but because it's crucial to show you what they're doing in each city. All right, and what plays a major part is very interesting, man. You see, so this is something that could prepare us through the spirit, you know, to be prepared for these things.
State has a grid that's hanging by a thread. New York has shut down the Indian Point nuclear plant that provided a quarter of New York City's power, replacing it with natural gas plants and promises of future renewables that haven't materialized. The transmission system bringing power from upstate to New York City is maxed out. Those high voltage lines running through the Hudson Valley are operating at capacity during peak demand. One major transmission failure, which becomes more likely every year as equipment ages, could black out millions of people instantly. What really keeps me up at night about New York is the cascading failure potential. The grid is so interconnected and operating so close to its limits that small problems can trigger massive blackouts. Remember 2003, when a tree branch in Ohio caused 50 million people to lose power across the Northeast? New York's grid is even more vulnerable today because demand has grown while redundancy has decreased. New York City specifically has this terrifying scenario where extreme heat creates massive air conditioning demand, right when the ancient underground distribution system is most likely to fail. Those underground cables and transformers weren't designed for current loads, and they literally cook themselves to death during heat waves. Con Ed has to do these preemptive shutoffs to prevent equipment from exploding, leaving tens of thousands without power when they need it most. Number 6 is Florida. And this isn't just about hurricanes.
So let's leave it at that. All right. I'll do a part 2. All right. And start from Florida. All right. So you see that it would talk about Louisiana, Massachusetts, all right, Chicago, New York. You know, these are major cities, man. Okay. And they all play a part. All right. They all have something that has a weakness to basically make your whole entire grid go off. And at the end of the day, if they really want to, they can just turn off the lights whenever the hell they feel like it, man, because everything is electric, you know, and if everything's electric, there has to be a main source somewhere that controls all things. Just like you just heard the guy just say, a fucking branch in Ohio that caused 50 million people to have a power outage. That's crazy. That's wild. That means that wherever that ended up happening, that was the main source, around the main source that will basically knock everything off, all right, and across the globe, not the globe, but across the United States. You see, that's wild right there. Okay, so these are the type of miseries that's gonna come to America, man. And these people, all right, in these times, all right, they're gonna get buck wild out here. All right, let's grab a couple precepts and I'll close it out, and I'll do a part 2 to it in a little while. All right, so this is 2nd Ezra 15 and let's grab it from 18. It says, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because the lack of bread and for great tribulation. You see? So in times like this, man, where lights get cut off, man, people not going to have access to their stores. You know, they're not going to have access to money in banks. Okay, they're not going to have access to, you know, their food source. You see? So people going to go into that desperation state of mind. All right. And people not going to have pity upon anybody. All right. It's going to be survival of the fittest out here. All right. And eventually, all right, people going to be running up in people's homes. The crime rate has to go up because the lights is cut out. You ain't going to be able to make a phone call. Okay. And call with 911. So all lawlessness is going to be out there. You see, ain't nobody going to be out there to protect you. This is why you need Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay. Because the Lord going to keep all these demons off of us. In those times, the Lord going to have us, you know, supping with wisdom. And wisdom is going to be the stability of thy times. Okay? The time, hey, as a matter of fact, let me go up a little bit, right? This is 11, verse 11. It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. All right, talking about the elect, right? It's going to be held down by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. All right, so this is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. All right, so we are going to receive here in Babylon the Great the same type of plagues that were being done in the time of Egypt. They're going to be redone again on this time, man, on this in our era. Okay, and one of the main ones that were done was that there was darkness for 3 days. You see, the same thing is going to happen, but it's going to come in the way of a cyber attack, of them cutting off these lights, them cutting off the power grid. Okay, and it's going to probably be more than 3 days. As a matter of fact, it ain't no probably. It's absolutely going to be more than 3 days. Okay. Then the Lord going to come and take your firstborns. You know, a lot of your firstborns is going to be dying off out here, man, in the time of Jacob's trouble, in the time of, you know, power grids getting cut off. You see, this is why spiritually we have to have the blood of the Lamb on our houses, man. Our houses being us, all right, being our minds. You know, we have to put the blood of lentils on our door. All right, so that when the indignation of the Lord comes, right, and the death angels come upon, all right, they're gonna go past us. Why? Because we have that tawah, that mark that is exempt from judgment. You see, why these people in these times gonna be going crazy, right? And because they don't have things that they want so bad, all right, that's why this devil's gonna be able to present a solution onto them. Okay, which is going to be that RFID, the hour of temptation. And that's the mark that they're going to receive, not the Tawah. They're going to receive the mark of Esau. You see, showing that, hey, I need help from my God of the United States. Whereas opposed to, we're just going to be putting our full faith, all right, in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, not putting our confidence in man. Okay, scriptures tell you that it is better to put your confidence in Yahweh, to put your trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in man, because man ain't gonna be able to save shit. Man is just flesh. All right. As a matter of fact, let's grab that. This is not Proverbs, Isaiah 31 and 3. It says, now the Egyptians are men and not power, not Yahweh, and their houses flesh, and their horses flesh and not spirit. Okay, let's grab it, as a matter of fact, up a little bit, right? At 1, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh. So these people gonna run down to Egypt for help. Why? Because their power. You're right. They trust in their chariots and everything that they trust in everything that America has to offer. You see, but they don't put their trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, let's grab this. This is Psalms 20 and 7. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, our power. Why? Because the name of the Lord Yahweh is a strong tower, and the righteous man runneth into it and is safe. You see? So back to 31 and 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh. Okay, jump down to 3. It says, now the Egyptians are men and not Yahweh, and their horses flesh and not spirit, meaning that their power is all about flesh, all right, but it's not of the spirit. When the Lord Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they shall all fail together. You see, showing you that everything that is flesh is going to fail out here, man. None of that shit's going to be able to save you, because once the judgment of the Lord comes, nothing can stop that. That's the judgment of the Lord. It's a prophetic thing that's happening. It's a divine power that's taking over everything that he has created. And remember, the Lord is what creates evil, right? The Lord is what creates evil, and the Lord is what makes peace. So when evil things come upon the earth, then great evils happen, all right? It's going to be of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, and you cannot stop his judgment. You cannot escape that. The only way you can escape is by having the keys of salvation, and that's having the names of the Lord, man, and our Savior, Yahweh Yahweh Shai. You see? And that's why we don't fear these things, because we weren't given the spirit of fear. We were given the spirit of a sound mind, right? Of love and a sound mind. Love going into basically us having these precepts, these law, statutes, and commandments to fall back upon. You see, when you do the duty of man, which is fear Yahweh and keep his law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, the Lord gonna be there to save you, man. You see, because you're doing his will. But if you're not doing that, all right, if you're not showing the love, because that's the love of the Lord. The love of the Lord is that, what does the scripture say in, I think it's 1 John? For this is the love of Yahweh, that you keep my law, statutes, and commandments, and my commandments are not grievous. You see? And we're not perfect, but you're going to rehearse the righteous acts. So by you doing that, giving your works, right, along with faith, because that's what you're really saved by, is your faith, all right? They both go hand in hand. And when the Lord comes to bring judgment, all right, he already has marked you and sealed you with that dawah. So you're able to be, the death angels just pass right by you like nothing. Like, nah, he protected. I can't even mess with him. But see, everybody else, for the lack of bread, right? The lack of water, and ultimately lacking Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, because the Lord is the bread of life, all right? They're gonna be done out here. You know? The Lord gonna cast them. This is why the Lord say he gonna cast people into outer darkness. Darkness shall cover the earth, gross darkness the people. So imagine when the lights get cut off in this place, man. You see? So we have to make sure we continually put in our trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, man. All right? So let me finish this up in 2nd Ezra 15, and I'll close it out, and then I'll do a part 2 to it. All right? So this is 11, and it says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and would destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, all right, meaning America. The foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh shall bring upon it. You see? So, you know, the Lord's got plenty of plagues that he's getting ready to bring upon America. All right. And all we can do is just sit back and be patient and wait for the Lord's mercy, you know? So that's pretty much the point. I'm going to end it off there through the spirit. Lord willing, you were edified. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash, Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad. The Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith. And doing as good soldiers of Yahweh Shah, you sisters continue to learn the signs, watching the true men of the Lord. And keep your faith up at all times. All right. Not wavering in faith, man. All right. We almost up out of here. Times is about to get real ugly out here and real spooky, you know. And honestly, I can't wait. I can't wait till the Lord do his works and do his will, man. Because this place got to go. This place is just too damn wicked. All right. But with that being said, Shalom, Shalom, Malak, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakatah, the water for tuning in. Shalom.